Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back or welcome. I'm here today to revisit my monthly series called 12 Records 18 Years Later. I'll tell you about it in just a second. I'm doing the usual planner catch-up thing today. It's a weekend. Catching up in my one line a day journal, which I use the Pilot Kakuno with. I haven't journaled yet today, but I intend to, so that'll happen. And I was just catching up on my coffee logging, which, if you are new here, it's basically, I use this spread in the Kokuyo Jibun Techo to log the different coffee brews that I drink every day. Yellow is mocha pot, and today I have a mocha pot Americano right here. This mug, I might post a little clip of a video of the front of it, but I got this at Voodoo Donut in Austin, Texas, and I instantly loved this mug so much. I love the shade of pink, and there's a hole in it for the donut. So anyway, back to the theme of this. What are we doing today? Welcome to February in 12 Records 18 years later. So when I first started collecting records, I committed to buying one record a month for a year, and this was back in 2008. And I did that to start building a collection and to figure out what my identity as a collector was. So it's been an 18-year journey of collecting, and I've learned a lot about both vinyl and how I relate to it as a musician. And I called the project back then 12 Records very creatively. It's been interesting, even though I've only done it twice so far, January, February. Even though my music taste is in a different place right now, these records are very significant to me, I've realized, because they represent those early days of getting into a practice and relationship with music that was so new and unknown at the time. And by now, 18 years later, it kind of feels comforting and like home. Anytime I'm in a new city, I look up record stores in the area, visit one, usually leave with a record as a souvenir, and I think about all of those places as I take out each record to play them whenever I want to listen to one. And it's just really, this is turning into like a mini reflection on just the past 18 years of collecting vinyl. And I didn't even call it collecting until very, very recently, because to me, I thought a collection was, I must have many of a certain thing. And for me, it was like, okay, this is a way that I listen to music now. I'm just buying records to support artists and listen to music, but I suppose it is a collection. Okay, so what this project is, again, 12 records, 18 years later. Each month in 2026, I'm going to spin the record I bought for that month in 2008 and journal about it in my vinyl journal and then talk about it here. So this is my vinyl journal, and as I've mentioned a couple of times, I use this to spin a random record in my collection and start writing about it whenever I'm like inwardly led to. Like I'll sit down, put the record on, listen to it, and then just start writing at some point. It's been really fun and a nice practice in my whole like paper world of analog documentation. So what is the record for February? It is this one. This is called, the album is called The Grand Archives, and the band is called Grand Archives. I was actually pretty confused by the two while putting together my thoughts for what I would talk about today, because I was like, which one is The Grand Archives and which one is Grand Archives? So 99% sure the band is called Grand Archives. The album is called The Grand Archives. I might correct myself if I'm wrong, but that's what I've surmised. One cool thing about this is the album was put out on Sub Pop Records. So I didn't even put two and two together as I was writing about it last night, but that's a cool little link between these two things and this practice today. So while researching this album, I hadn't realized that I bought it the month it came out. This came out February in 2008. And the reason I bought it, I had never heard of this band before I bought this record and before I saw it in the record store. it was on the wall at the record store. I actually, same one I bought my Stars record in, which is my January video. I will link to that. That store was called Sound Fix. It was in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. It's now a restaurant. I saw it on the wall and I had to have it immediately. I didn't even care what it was. And that's because of this album art. I literally bought the record for the cover. I've been playing the piano for my whole life, since I was like 4. And it was always, as an adult, always my daydream to one day have a white upright piano. I've always throughout the years kind of casually looked around for one. I never had the living space to fit one. I do now. I have a digital piano now, but I'm just waiting to find that one. But anyway, I saw this on the wall and I was like, that's the February record. And I had no idea what it was. So basically the music it's indie rock. It's similar to Stars sometimes in that they have that many instruments thing of the mid 2000s indie rock. It's kind of folksy. They have a lot of brass instruments, sometimes harmonica. There's whistling involved. I mean, if I thought there wasn't a lot of information out there about Stars, there's even less about Grand Archives. There's a little bit that I know about them that I'll share. One Seattle-based blog called this blithe atmospheric pop, which I thought was a kind of nice description. I don't know if I would call it pop, but it's atmospheric for sure in some parts. The link to records or bands that I do know is the frontman, Matt Brook. He played guitar on a Band of Horses album before this. And that album is Everything All the Time. I don't know that Band of Horses album as well as the one that came after it, which is Cease to Begin. But I didn't know at the time that this record I was about to buy had that link to a band I did already know. So that's like the tiny bit of backstory. Let me unwrap this and show you the record itself. So this album art is just gorgeous. I love this photo. And the back of it, I actually, until last night, hadn't inspected the back of this closely. I just thought it was like painted stripes on a wall. Or like I see some of the texture and I thought, oh, it's wood. But when I looked closely, this is actually books, like stacked books with different colored pages. And you can like really see the pages here. So that is, that's the front and the back. It's a straightforward jacket with one record on the inside. This is on black wax. It's a 33. It actually feels like almost like a 180 gram, but it's not. But it's like pretty substantial record. You have the little Sub Pop logo here, and the label is like, I like it. It's like a clean, simple, easy to read label. The sides are labeled, which I really appreciate, and you just have the track listing on each. And then let me put this in a safe spot. The inside has a couple of things. So you have one insert, it's just white on the other side, and this has predominantly lyrics. So I actually sat down and read through the lyrics last night as I was listening to this. You have one really carefree looking image of the band, which I'll get to in a second. And then a little short liner notes section. Each song credits the additional musicians that played on that song underneath here. And I was reading the liner notes last night, and because I was looking for who designed this in particular, and the design and the photography were two different people, but photography by Whitney Etter. I could not find her online. I found Whitney Etters, but I don't think it's the same person. And then another thing I couldn't really find online is down here it says this album is dedicated to the memory of Joseph Matthew Crawford. I looked him up too to see, like, if I could learn a little bit about his story. There's an entire beautiful album dedicated to him, and I couldn't really find any information either. But anyway, you have the insert there, and then there's one really exciting thing that came with this record, and it's a 45. And this wasn't my first 45. I only had like 4 records at this point, but I was so new to collecting. I had no idea that records could come with additional things in them. And pulling this out, I was so excited. And the fact that it was white, I also had no idea about colored vinyl. So this was super a treat for me. And the best part is that the side A of this bonus 7-inch is Sleep Driving Alt Mix, which is my very favorite song on this album, and probably one of my top 100 songs ever. I've never worked on that list. I've wanted to, but I adore that song so much. One thing I remember is that back then I had one of those suitcase style portable turntables by Crossley, and it actually had that feature of you could plug a USB in and hook it up to your computer and like transcribe, I don't know the audio word, the entire record you played in real time into individual tracks with an application. And I did that with this album. I found it this morning actually while doing some other cleanup. And I remember this 7-inch sounding very underwater on that affordable turntable, and I captured that sound of it in the file transfer of like recording this onto my computer into digital files. I mentioned this song, so let's get into the music. So I've mentioned before that my music taste is very different now. I never really reach for these records that I bought back then when I feel like listening to a record. This one I mentioned, it's indie rock. It's the kind of music that has a lot of instruments. The most special part about this album to me is the harmonizing. Every now and then there will be vocal harmonies that just take you by surprise in a song, and they're perfect and beautiful. And there's also another kind of characteristic sound on this album is there are a couple of swells in the music, which I mentioned this for the Stars album as well, that it has this swell. I'm not sure how to describe that from a music theory perspective, but you can hear it the most in Torn Blue Foam Couch, which is track 1. I love that track name, by the way. The swells maps really well to this feeling of possibility that seemed to encircle everything back then in that time of my life. I was new to New York. I was new in my career. I was writing a lot, doing a lot of side projects, discovering new places. It was just a really inspiring and magical time for me. And the swell in some of these songs maps to that really well. Another song that really caught me by surprise and I had forgotten about was A Setting Sun. I think this is the first track on side B. There is this sneaky harmonizing that comes in the bridge of that song that is so perfect and wonderful. Like, I don't know, give that song a listen if you like vocal harmonies, which I really, really love. So basically there are these little like bursts of brilliance throughout this album that I really appreciated all over again while listening to it last night. So I mentioned this album has some swells, and then the Stars album has some swells, but the overall takeaway vibe of both of them is very different to me. The sound in the Stars album is more dream, and the sound in the Grand Archives album is more daydream. So I feel more sun and carefreeness in this one, and the Stars album feels a bit like nighttime and a rush of energy. This picture by the river. Like it definitely, the album sounds like this vibe to me. So the last thing I'll mention about the music is Sleep Driving. So when I like I mentioned, I didn't know this band. I didn't know a thing about this album when I bought it. But when I got to this song, my jaw dropped. And honestly, like if I hated every song on this album, that song Sleep Driving would be worth the entire album for me. So it's predominantly one of the reasons why I'm really happy to have this album still, and the fact that there's an alternate version or mix of it on this 7-inch just is total bonus, like very delightful. That song starts out, it like fades in, and there's a clean guitar, beautiful chord progression. I love the key that song is in. It's in minor key, and the vocal harmonies come in and they're really soft, and the song does swell a little bit later, but then it comes back to the verse. Like it has this beautiful like dip back in that feels very natural. And yeah, this song Sleep Driving, honestly, like if you want to hear this band at its best, I know they had other albums and I haven't heard them, but if you want to hear this album at its best, in my opinion, listen to Sleep Driving. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. Can't say it enough. And then the last thing I'll say about this album, which was also a nice little surprise for me last night, was when I went to put the insert back into the jacket, it was kind of like stuck. And I was like, ooh, is there a download code in there? Because that's usually what it means. Like there's this little piece of paper that's like preventing the stuff from going in. And there was. And this record is 18 years old. I was like, this URL is going to be dead, but let's try it. And it freaking worked, guys. I went to the Sub Pop site, I put the code in, and it worked. There were the files downloading onto my computer. I really couldn't believe it. Like, these songs have been on a server for 18 years, and the freaking links work. Usually that doesn't happen. When I look up old websites from records that I got back in the day, which I do sometimes, all of it's dead. Like the reviews that I found for this album, like I found the review page, but then when I clicked on home to look at, let's say, the music blog, it was dead, like totally taken offline. So that was just super surprising to me. And then I was confused when this morning I went into my backup drive and I found every song from the album, and I was like, but this code only works once. Like, what's going on? Where did I get these songs? And it was from, I remembered, that USB turntable. So I have two versions of the album. The USB feature wasn't too bad. Like, it worked. It sounded pretty good, actually. I was surprised because records didn't sound the best on that turntable. They played. I love the music. I'm not really an audiophile, but yeah, I played Sleep Driving like side by side. The USB spun from the turntable and then this one. And this one did sound better, noticeably better, but the other one was pretty good. So I'm kind of curious what other records I did that with, like used that feature with. So, okay, I'm going to reassemble all of this now and put all of this away and go have some breakfast. It's pretty early morning, but thank you all for spending a few minutes with me. I've been having, it's only February as I mentioned, but I've been having a really nice, emotional, nostalgic time going through these records that I bought when I was first starting my collection back in 2008, and I hope you enjoy it too. I'm going to make a playlist with these videos so that they're easy to find. I haven't figured out how to link to a video like on the actual video from my channel yet, but I'm going to look that up too and maybe put the January one here. If it doesn't work, you can find the playlist on my channel. That's it for today. I will see you guys next time. Bye!